is also another sector that requires urgent reform. The railway sector is come to a halt due to workers of the Ghana Railway Company Limited indefinite strike that started yesterday. Now, workers of the state-owned company, they've resolved not to return to work until all their poor working conditions are met and delays in salaries paid. And we're talking about 7 months here. Now, the workers who commenced a strike yesterday are also calling for the privatization of the railway sector, citing chronic mismanagement by the Ghana Railway Company Limited. But trade and commerce activities have also grounded to a halt but for patrons of Ghana Rail System. Collins Frimpong has been engaging some of the traders at the Tema railway station and came through with this report.
If he says, "Jumano Kosono, market in Ewo, Omoba, Unquaffable food training to Omoba Hantem, a hand to a bantam to Miss Miyako and Tema, to be mam, Nipawa Hapa, Auntie Monday no, and you bring a minianti, say, Tuesday on back strike. Nti me share me market na monsieur okay ampa so na ha nya kra em say o munya information wona wo phone no munya information nti mbo mi say na wona wo be phone so no so o amati o bibisa na aye wona so me say okay ampa so nti me so me hwe the way am beton be ye me adwuma no me te so ampa so da na ha ye boring pa nti ende da na nde market in shada aye we mame ti men so strike na wo kwai no men so aha me kakra so e be ye ne the workers na omusu pa enye ize ma won men omo na e wa ha enye ize ma won kra wo be ye adwuma wa bosu mpo ye tu o ka wa etesen na 7 months nti enye ize nti wo kwa strike na if you say pay no for no bet na wa ye wo bibi kakra ma won nti men so kakra me so me waka no
no muton koko na mra training ye adwuma na time ben say ene nketimi sama on enra ne o hwa mra ben say na opon enra ne so
oh bi ho nine na mapon bi mpo ye mgba nine na mapon ma cha wa ha oh na maka no that time na ndra de me pon wa hampo na 10:30 ko gba 11 nda so bi na me wa hai nti ya no de almost strike na aka me.
Meanwhile, the police-built train intended for the Tema-Mpakadan railway line is still idle. Now, months after repair works were done following an accident in April of 2024. Now, workers of the Ghana Railway Company Limited allege that the train remains grounded because the Ghana Railway Company Limited claims it lacks the funds to purchase fuel for test run to resume the shuttle service.
I was saying, we scour was here the full front number. But I say, pay more than one, and so. A quite pony I read that train be amad, engine me no the banso, a besue, intimate eduma. This intimate eduma, then I just or mano, you need fap him, you fap him, you know, idea, a bear cuckoo bala show near Gemato, 3 years was a yamia mem. Not your mamma and casse or no person or my contract na, your money into no bet me as I be idea. Yes, idea, be sure as I say.
Who can new one?
New
the accident.
Sabe penalty.
Enya accident ni nya nti so mo repair and
o my area so see as engines coaches will have bet me akwa okay was a start here you but ni nyina so koka say fuel scan word we to fuel ni nema afia kwan so o mo say kwan so problem kwan problem there wo ho but ke ya adwuma kakran na dey solve problem na ke be ba coach na isi wono afa nipa from ha to Pakadan na 3 betu na nipa be fa nru 200 there. Then for so many benya also. No mind was an boka. There was a cram coaches in Beckham and Sana train at me move. Say 3 way per a move free how to Pakadan or minor boka totally. There was a coaches in the bar. So coaches are ma who he has a train here. Two crying coaches 3 about the engine way ba. Engine to me for funny pen route 200. Now say I'm free uncle Pakadan. Full at Becco. Ni konene ba. Na hwe sikai benya say bet me atosa full and poor. Until your money here coaches no. So buy the crown no is confirm investment e wo Ghana. Ghana e wa skafo be blo motime do musika akra bi diaba. Na no mako nhihye wo mu e wo so ye. E betumi abo ba ya anya de sade atam ye pese broni be ya no so no atwe o man no kwa akire. Sabi o metumi abo skafo bi din kwam desperate ne wa skafo be blo wo man mu. Ah e de adwuma mu o so mo kra coaches mu e be ba. But aban ne hwe ne sa tambia pese broni na be broni ni so oba obehwe adwuma na se niam antie ka ne niam wo ho no ada so obe ada so onye na atwintwene ho ana bibia se 3 year odi abai kenyame adoma ye kama but coaches nka ho ti uma sa engineer emfa nipa more than 200 e ko ha ne mpaka dan ba o man na boka ti esra man ne se anim ya no de adwuma be ma investment bi no mo di coaches ni bi aba ka betumi abo o man
na wo ka se police training accident no ya repair we or
we bibia o me fan say ya repair 4 months more money
almost 4 months
sure
that's so now can for one sem sem ntimi for ehunfo ne se o ntimi for workers ne ntimi to anase
workers ne ntimi company ni so company ni niska because
all right, so that's the state of the Ghana Railway Company, a very sad state. Let's engage the acting chief executive officer of the Ghana Railway Development Authority, Dr. Frederick Apo. Dr. Apo, it's good to have you here on the pulse. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And quite clearly, you are in a sector that requires serious intervention. And I'm wondering how distressed it must be, sitting in the office and looking at the state of the Ghana Railway Company.
Yes. Look, although the Ghana Railway Development Authority, GRDA, and Ghana Railway Company Limited, we are two distinct entities under the Act in 779. We are the GRDA. We take pride of our colleagues at GRCL
right.
Very seriously. And of course, the issue of non-payment for salaries over 7 months is deeply concerning. And we acknowledge the genuine hardships this has caused GRCS staff. On the other hand, I am very much aware of the efforts being taken by the Minister for Transport, Honorable Nipe, to address this issue of non-payment of salaries. And we at the development site, we are working tirelessly to expand the railway infrastructure and unlock economic viable areas within the railway operation. I would like to touch base on a few things.
Right.
Tema to Impakadan remains one of the key infrastructure assets of the country. The two trains are operable. They are operable. They are in good condition, ready to go. And the fact that the trains are not working has got nothing to do with fuel shortages.
That's the claim of the worker.
Yes. Has got nothing to do with fuel shortages. On the 15th of March, we embarked on the track inspection of Tama to Impakadan. We encountered a lot of issues, encroachment issues, buffer stop was almost not there, taken off by scrap dealers. Most of the nut and screw slots have been illegally taken from the line. We are in the process of rectifying all these issues. And at the moment, I can confidently say that 75% of the ongoing defect mitigation action plans is almost done. We are almost complete in terms of the mitigation plan.
But the last time on the rail trucks, and the fact that some criminals, for want of a better word, decided that they would embark on their criminal activities, resulting in sometimes the removal of the screws and some components of the truck. And last year, for example, we were told that the value of what they've taken away from the trucks runs into millions of the United States dollars.
Yes, it's true. In terms of the point machines or the interlock system, this control the signaling of the train. So in any railway system, we have 3 types. We have the vehicle that you see, the rolling stock. We have the track, which obviously the rolling stock moves on, the vehicle moves on, that is the train. But what most people don't see is the brain of the train or the brain of the railway system. That's the signaling command and control center. That controls the traffic and in essence, it controls the revenue. So what has happened so far is that we have encountered issue, or we observed that most of the point machines, the aluminium plates have been stolen. We are in the process of replacing all of them. Indeed, some of the locks and nuts gone. Scrap dealers, especially in built-up areas in Ashama and also Tema Harbour areas, almost gone. we have replaced all of them. So the idea of commencement of service is a good thing. But as a chief executive of the authority, my objective is to ensure that we are going to operate a safe railway line.
Right.
And therefore, I have tasked my team. We are almost there, 75% complete in terms of the rectification work. And Tema to Impakadan will commence very soon.
All right.
And we are going to commence the service between Tema and Adome.
Just if you can kindly hold it briefly for me. Let me also bring in labor experts, Mr. Austin Game. Mr. Game, always a pleasure to have you here on the program. Good afternoon. Right, so we'll try and get Mr. Game's attention so we can put some few questions in. But Dr. Apostle, these workers who are complaining about non-payment of their salaries for over 7 months now, is it a case that they are paid from internally generated resources of the company? Because one would assume that if they are government employees, they will be paid from the consolidated fund.
Now, GRCL, I think the best... I don't want to be speaking on behalf of the GRCL, but like GRDA, GRCL is a limited liability company that must pay to the internal generated fund. You are right. But at the moment, due to the, let's say,
the state of affairs,
shortage of services, especially between Takrade, because our active line is between Tema, Accra. They run 2 trains, one in the morning, one in the evening. And in Takrade, we also run 2 DMUs, of which one has been parked due to technical errors, technical fault on some of the, what we call it, traction control units. I was there last week. So the incident is, if you look at the operational capacity in terms of IGF is limited.
Right.
But on the authority side, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to conduct market sounding to allow private sector participation in terms of the railway operation, which will obviously enhance in terms of revenue generation. So with the private sector participation, we are going to have we are going to reduce the revenue leakages or limit it in terms of revenue leakages. And we are also going to introduce a bit of what we call generate funds that could also pay for these workers.
All right.
So
if you can kindly give me just a second so that I can bring in Mr. Austin Game. Mr. Game is a labor consultant, and he's joined us. Mr. Game, as always, a pleasure to have you here. Good afternoon. Welcome, sir. And if you can unmute for me, sir. Right. Good afternoon, Mr. Austin Game. Right. We'll try and rectify what is causing. Yes, I can hear you now loud and clear. Sir. Good afternoon, and always a pleasure to have you here on the program.
I am unable to hear you. Is there anything you people can do there?
All right, then then our technicians will work on this. Mr. Game cannot hear us. This will be rectified so that we can have a very good conversation. I don't know whether it's good now to hear me. Mr. Game, can you hear me?
Quite okay now.
Right, so, I mean, I'm hearing from the CEO of the authority. Now, the workers say that they've not been paid in the last 7 months. What is clear is that they are paid from internally generated funds. They also admit to a question that they've not been working. I mean, they are not bringing in anything. I mean, their main source of income was the Western line that was used to transport bauxite and other natural resources. Because of activities of illegal mining, that line is out of use. So nothing is coming in as of now. So if they are not working, they are not generating funds, they are obviously becoming a burden on the company. Shouldn't the state take a firm decision and say that if we are not going to operate this line, then we must find some compensation for them and let them go home instead of them staying and hoping for something to come, which is not coming?
Thank you. I'm grateful. First of all, I am in great sympathy, or if you like, empathy with the working people who have now become a burden on themselves and the state, if you like. Having said so, I think it's important that we place this matter in perspective. I grew up seeing railway working reasonably well in Ghana. I used to take sleeper from Accra to Kumasi and back. I used to take train from Accra to Tema to the shipyard where my office was. And so clearly we were beneficiaries of an existing railway system that was not a burden per se. Now, since then, railway has virtually collapsed, and people were laid off before through severance. Quite a huge number of people severed relationship with and were paid properly. And we later find a way of reviving it, which wasn't properly done, but we carried it along to date. And to be honest with you, it's about time, as I'm sure some of the workers were themselves demanding, that government and the state, for that matter, make a firm decision to properly privatize in part the railway system, just like it's done in other countries like Britain. I think that way we might be benefiting from it than the way it is now. But I really empathize with them.
So as we speak now, and they are crying and asking that something is done about their 7 months salary, who should shoulder that responsibility when the company is a limited liability?
Well, obviously, if it comes to the crunch, it will become the state. Let's be honest here. And so they cannot, that's where in industrial relations we talk about negotiating and ensuring that you have a flexibility clause in your collective agreement. But in an unlikely event of this nature, you don't say, I have an agreement that says, dito, I must get this. You have to be flexible, and because the state is not directly responsible for this, it's a makeup of both the state and the working people themselves. If you like, leadership and unions, everybody is involved. And I'm sure the union leaders there are very reasonable people, together with management and the leadership of the Ministry of Transport. We'll have to find ways and means of getting together, having a conversation, not debate, argument about this situation, so that they can agree on what can be offered the people who must necessarily be severed legal relationship with and paid some redundancy pay, so that they can go home whilst the state takes steps to cause an expression of interest in people who would like to see to the railway. Railway is a very expensive and capital-intensive kind of project. And so I pray that they will all come to that understanding.
I mean, and this brings into sharp focus, I mean, the commitments of our leaders, successive governments. I mean, I remember when President Akufo-Addo took office and he appointed Mr. Joe Garte as the Minister for Railway, and for the first time before the Appointments Committee of Parliament, he did a PowerPoint presentation about the sector, the potential that it had, and what was to be done to exploit the potential of the railway sector. Now, almost 9 years on, we've not moved an inch. We're virtually at the same pace, apart from constructing tracks that was left to the mercy of the weather and to the mercy of criminals. And now almost $200 million has been stolen from people that have been used and sold as scraps. So it brings into question the commitment of our leaders and successive governments in an area that, when exploited, can be a cash cow for the country.
Yeah, I agree with you. I work for a private company as a consultant that handles and is in the process still of constructing the Western Rail to the mining resource areas. So I am reasonably familiar with what goes on in the railway system, particularly in the Western and Tema where I live. And let me say that I think it's about time. We've all traveled. I've traveled through many countries.
Right.
And I do know how beneficial and industrious that railway can be to a nation, and can reduce the fatalities on our roads.
Right.
Can help address transportation of a mass number of people to workplace and back, and carry goods and services. Our agriculture produce would have been reasonably cheaper if the railway were to be functioning the way it used to in the 70s into the later part of the 80s before it collapsed. So I think that we must consciously agree. In fact, I am aware that some of the mining companies in the Western Enclave there, particularly the manganese, the bauxite, and some other produce there, may be willing to support the state. That's why I don't want to talk about government.
Right.
Support the state in ensuring that we have a functioning railway system. And private sectors would like to, if our pension systems are very mindful, since it's a long-term money available, to invest. But a lot of education will have to be carried out, because Ghanaians are very unpatriotic, or if you like, some Ghanaians are unpatriotic. Even the railway that have been constructed, we've managed to remove some of the lines to go and sell as scrap.
Right, and sold very cheap too.
Yes, so clearly we are an unpatriotic bunch of people who don't have mercy upon ourselves. We turn around to blame governments and so forth and so on. So I think that we must consciously arrange to get seated as a people and plan strategically how to go about it. And we should not limit it to just some few people talking about it. If I work for one of the private sectors as a consultant, nobody knows what I do with the railway system.
Okay.
And so clearly that is how it is. We need to talk, just like we did during the National Economic Dialogue.
Right.
Some arrangement will have to be made for some people to get together, either in the Western region, in the wherever, to enable us talk about it. And it will save this nation quite a lot.
Mr. Osingame, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Let me give the final words to Dr. Paul. So, Dr. Paul, I mean, if you can, in a few minutes, tell us, I mean, the national goal for this particular sector, because we've had so many promises. I can reference even the potential of the Buankra Inland Port, and the reason why it is not in operation is because government is yet to construct the line from Tema to the Ashanti region where Buankra is located. I mean, Kumasi to Takoradi rail service is dead. Kumasi to Accra is dead. We were told that the construction will take place all the way from Accra to Paga by the former Railway Minister, Mr. Jogate. We don't even know where we've got into, but we are nowhere near Paga. But the economic benefit is so enormous that, I mean, this can turn the country around. What, from the authorities' point of view, is the national vision, and how are you going about achieving it?
Yes. So, in terms of our national vision, in terms of this particular government, we want to ensure two things. First, we are going to commence the Tema to Mpakadan very soon. And we are about to also conduct market sounding for private sector participation on the Tema to Mpakadan operation. That is step number one. Step number two, we are equally going to conduct market sounding for private sector participation on the continuation of the Western Railway line from Hini Valley through to Junkwao to Buankra on the right leg, and from Junkwao to Yineyini via Awaso. So touching base on all that project. But we need to be realistic.
Right.
Railway infrastructure is very expensive. It's $5 million per consecutive, $5 million per kilometer. Per kilometer. So this is not about the rolling stock. This is just about the track and the basic signaling and telecom communication.
Quite expensive than even building an asphalt, because a kilometer on asphalt is less than $5 million.
But in terms of longevity and benefit, the railway can last over 50 years,
Right.
in terms of longevity. So if you look at the mining, which is ongoing at Awaso and Yini, you have got over 300 trucks using the road.
Yeah, and
at the
destroying it.
moment. Destroying it. These can be on the what we call on the road from mining to port. That is the objective. But simply, let me put it very simply. On the Western Railway line, our objective is to connect to Insuta. We are only 15 kilometers from Insuta. So we are hoping that we can resume work and connect where we are currently to the Insuta mining site. We can be hauling manganese to Takrady, whereby we can then be able to be using our colleagues from Ghana Railway Company Limited to support the operation in the Western Railway line. So we are putting a lot of effort in place, and we are seeking private sector participation, both in the operation on the Tama to Mpakadan, as well as the continuation of the Western Railway line construction, to ensure that at least we will be able to complete up to Insuta to allow the hauling of manganese via the rail instead of the road.
But before we get to the private sector participation, for example, the one that comes from Tema to Accra every day, it comes in the morning and leave in the evening. Isn't it possible to make it, for example, allow it to run like 10 trips within a day instead of morning and evening? Because if the patronage is good, it means running more generates more revenue. I don't know the plan towards that.
I think the plan towards that is that if you look at it, we have in railway, we have the narrow gauge and we have the standard gauge. So the standard gauge allows for more axle load, safer and reliable. If you look at the state of the railway itself, the narrow gauge between Tema to Accra, as you correctly described, is a narrow gauge. And it's in a very bad shape in terms of deteriorating state. Even we are now running at a control speed, which is below the normal design speed. And in some instances, if you go above the control speed, you might have a derailment. So we need to look at, number one, to increase the traffic capacity, to run more trains. We need to do a full rehabilitation of the line between Tema and Accra to make sure that at least we can rehabilitate the line to a standard gauge. Once we've done that, we need to also increase the S&T in terms of capability, upgrade it, the signal and telecom. Because without the signal and telecom, you cannot run two trains at the same time. You can run one train at a time. So we need to be able to also improve on the signaling technology. So this is part of the ongoing works that we are looking, and we are also looking for private sector participation on that particular line to actually rehabilitate the line, operate and transfer. And with that, we will then be able to have our colleagues who are in JRCL accurately and fully employed in the what we call a private sector, whereby when you go to Europe, you have the state owning the infrastructure, but you have private sector operators basically managing the operation. And you have competition, innovation, and most importantly, we can reduce the revenue leakages that we are seeing and be able to pay the workers and also develop the railway without any need or recourse to public funds.
Right, but
this is what we need to implement, and we are working as.
But is there any interest so far from the private sector? Have you started the process to open it up for them to come? Has anybody shown any interest?
Yes. Since my appointment, I've had the chance of meeting over. Let me be conservative, about 50 investors.
Right.
And at the moment, I am in an investment meeting until this call came. The key thing is that we are about to run a market sounding, whereby we are inviting everybody, all the players, freight operating company, train operating company, to come to Accra to participate in the market sounding, where we are going to evaluate, to select private sector operators to operate the trains, or to operate the trains on Tama to Mpakadan. This is the vision. And at the same time, we are also going to conduct market sounding to select for an investor to continue in a PPP agreement to continue the construction of the Western Railway line. So this will be announced shortly, and I'm very and the date will come. And I'm thinking June is the right time that we are going to announce this. So it's happening in June, whereby the authority will be working together with the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Transport, to conduct a market sounding to select appropriate investors for both the operation of Tema to Mpakadan, as well as to continue the construction of the Western Railway line at least to Isuta and start the operationalization as well.
Right, Dr. Apple, we are with you on this journey with the hope that rail service will be restored and made to run commercially so that the country can derive the necessary benefit from it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Apple is the acting CEO of the Ghana Railway Development Authority. We're going to take a short break, but this program, The Pulse, is always brought to you by Rapid Improvement Pharmaceuticals. Now, are you suffering from any stubborn cough? Are you coughing? There is a remedy for you. Get fast relief from different dry cough. Expectorant. It clears chest congestion, smoothens cough, and fights the common cold. So if you're going through cough, common cold, I recommend this for you quite strongly. And helping you breathe easy and feel better. Different dry is available at all pharmaceuticals and OTCs across Ghana, but not recommended for children under 6 years. But if you are interested in bulk purchase, please visit Rapid Improvement Pharmaceuticals. They are located on the Spinters Road next to the Royal House Chapel. Contact them on 0536 661 432. That's 0536 661 432. Zephyr Dry, breathe easy, feel better, and they are proud sponsors. We shall be back to deal with the other matters on the program. Stay put.